I tried to describe the situation because it happens so often, and I came up with a term for it, and I call it an upside down toilet. It's a term you can use that's extremely useful. Go with me, trust me. So, I was at the party, and my friend Dave was having a conversation with somebody else, and I heard yada 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 something something like an upside down toilet. And I was like, all right, well, screw this conversation that I'm currently having because that's not nearly as interesting. And I turned and I said, what about an upside down toilet? And Dave was like, it's a, and I'm like, what? And before you know it, it took like 5 minutes at least to explain this buildup of this story in which it went through, and it was so mundane. I truly, to this day, and I've told this story so many times, it's crazy, I'll never remember what it was actually about. And that's even more exactly the point of the story. You see, it was so mundane that it's not even worth explaining. You see, it's not even a thing. It just sounds interesting. So then it got to a point where once it was explained, I got it, and I go, oh, like an upside down toilet. And no joke, my friend Oleg, I'll never forget, Oleg turned to me and he was like, wait, what about an upside down toilet? Huh? What? And I looked at Dave like, okay, we just did this. When we turned to Oleg to go, it's nothing. It's nothing. You don't even worry about it. Like, don't even worry about it. But the more you would tell him, don't worry about it, don't think about it, he's like, no, it only made him more curious. No, I need to know. What about an upside down toilet? You see, we all hear someone saying like, oh, like an upside down toilet. And we all imagine different things. Me and Oleg, we were talking, and we both were imagining when we heard it, we imagined like a toilet attached to the ceiling with like handlebars so you could like hold on to it, and like some kind of like suction system so that if you used an upside down toilet, you could use the toilet upside down if you were, but it would take a lot of core strength to hold yourself up to this toilet, and then the thing would and but it'd have to constantly be flushing. And then we were talking about like the different, well, I mean, but if it's got that suction, if it's like the right size for your butt, I guess that in itself might hold you up, right? That you wouldn't need the handlebars. But then we were saying like, well, but if you use the handlebars, like, and you're there, then you don't need as much suction. If there's so much suction against your butt, and not just against like a butt cheek, but namely in and around your butthole, that's gonna be a lot of suction against, and that's gonna, you might have a prolapsed rectum if you had that kind of suction to hold up your entire body by your butt. That's powerful suction. It's not safe. It's not safe. So it's funny is that then we started talking about an upside down toilet for like half an hour after that, and it became an extremely interesting kind of thought thing, right? Marge says it sounds uncomfortable. Yeah, exactly. But it's a topic worth talking about. But the initial, what made like talking about an upside down toilet, it was actually completely irrelevant, so mundane that I don't even, it's not even worth remembering, let alone telling anybody. And then that's the point. So the instance, and especially because it happened in succession multiple times, it became like an upside down toilet, you see. So just by saying like an upside down toilet, someone near you, their ear is gonna perk up, and they're gonna be like, wait, what about an upside down toilet? And it became kind of like a little joke that if you wanted to get someone's attention, you're like, hey, did you what? And you just go like, it's like an upside down toilet, and then suddenly, no matter what, they're gonna go, what? I don't know what it is, but I guess it puts a weird mental picture that's interesting to people. But also, it's the absence of information that they have to fill in the blanks, and it makes their brain go a little crazy. Right? So That is an upside down toilet, right? So it makes it easy later, right? So if I was to be saying something and it sounded interesting, but is totally not worth explaining, then it would be easy for me and you, because then if you were like, no, wait, what was that? Because you're never going to believe me. If I go, it's not interesting, you don't want to know. It's only going to make you more curious. But now I could say, it's like an upside down toilet. And then that'll allow the other person to go, okay, I get what you're saying, that it sounds really interesting, but it is totally not even worth saying. It's not memorable. And what you think it's about, it isn't about. It's something there that, in fact, let's talk about what you think I'm talking about, and that'll be a fun conversation. Let's talk about what it clearly sounds like I'm talking about and not what I'm actually talking about. It's not even worth. We'll just forget it. Just literally put it out here. It's a waste of time. We can move on. And literally that term with friends comes up now and again, and it saves a lot of wasted time having to explain some mundane, stupid story. Right? And that's an upside down toilet. And it's funny, you'll find upside down toilets all over the place. And that's why I say sometimes I'll upside down toilet myself, where, like the physical TV used to be a wonderful upside down toilet machine, because you got all these channels and you could just flip through them. And no matter what, you're going to be put into the middle of something. And you don't know if you're actually in the middle of it, if it's the beginning, maybe it's the end. And you don't know. And being put into the middle of an otherwise boring movie. But if you're going to jump in halfway, depending on where you jump in, it might seem extremely interesting, especially with all the information you don't know. Because if you're going to jump into a bad movie, one key element to a bad movie is going to be its predictability. That you know what's going on, that it almost over-explains itself, you know what's going to happen, you see it coming, of course it's going to. But if you jump in the middle of a bad movie, you don't even know what the movie's called, you don't know what's going on, you don't know what. Suddenly, it takes a lot more mental effort to try to figure it out, and that boring movie is suddenly exhilarating. Right? Because then you could make up weird explanations to why this is going on and whatever. Right? Not all of them are like that. But I'm just saying, if you flip through and you get somewhere random in it, you will find yourself an upside down toilet that gets your attention. You're just like, what is... And then by the time you figure out what's going on, typically you're like, oh, okay, I get it. And you flip and you move forward. Which is a funny thing in itself. And you'll find it everywhere. This idea of not knowing what's going to happen next. Right? Out of all the different universal possibilities, right? There's an infinite amount of parallel universes and possibilities, and everything that could happen is happening all at the same time, all at once. Right? The only thing out of all of that that isn't for sure is right now and what's going to happen next. Like and subscribe.